G'day everyone, well I'm back here with Will. We'll continue our chat on the Primabolics range.
We are.
And now, tonight, we are talking about Primabolics Grind, which is your non-stim pre-workout. Now, I'm going to hit you straight away with a question on this. Why non-stim? Why would I take a non-stim? Like, I'm not going to feel nothing out of this. Why would I take this?
Look, and I get that question asked a lot. A lot of customers are also confused. I think this is a really good opportunity to help some people because a lot of people ask me in store, literally, well, why do I use it then?
Yeah, well, people actually say that, you know, like
what's
some
the
people
point?
will come and ask for it, but most people go, what's the point of a non-stim? Like, how's that going to help me?
Look, I think that was a lot of people's first impressions of the pre-workouts are that they're high stim. And for anyone who's new to pre-workouts, or if this is the first time you've seen the Aussie Muscle channel and are new to supplements, by what we're saying, stim or a non-stim. That's if it contains stimulants like caffeine, and also a host of other ones like synephrins or dynamines. So all we're saying there is either it has a stimulant to give you energy and get you going, or none at all. This guy has none at all. And the reason they're still beneficial though is all the good stuff that makes pre-workouts actually make you train harder is almost everything but the caffeine. The citrulline malate for your blood, to increase blood flow. If we're having more blood flow, we're producing energy more efficiently from ingredients like creatine monohydrate. Decades of research showing how good that is for building strength and power and endurance. Like betaine. Betaine is shown to increase power output by like 25% in 4-week studies. The amount of benefits you can reap from all of these active ingredients outside of just the stims.
So let's just go back a little bit here. Just tell us about betaine. Like, what is betaine? What is its function? How does it work?
Betaine's really cool. So trimethylglycines is other.
A lot of people get that confused with beta-alanine.
They do.
I've seen people, they'll pick up a product saying, oh yeah, it's got the betaine, I'll get the tingles. And no, that's beta-alanine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And look, beta-alanine by itself is something I've got in there, but betaine is a really cool one because what it does is it increases your, in particular, power output. If you want a supplement to take and actually feel, betaine is quite reliable for that, and that was the reason that it works in this particular case is and at a particularly low dose too. Usually in the studies, around about 2 grams a day is about the sweet spot. Up to twice a day if you wanted. But like I said, the main benefit of betaine is it will increase power output, and quite significantly. Like I mentioned, 25%. So if you look at not many natural supplements can help increase your power output by a quarter. Yeah, it's a pretty significant bump. So. Look, betaine's a really great ingredient because it's a good addition to a formula when we're particularly in the weight training spectrum or sports. Because a lot of people use this, having the no stimulants, a lot of people use it in sports too. Footy, CrossFit, Metcon, track and field stuff, athletics, because they're not jacking their heart rate up with caffeine. Yep. So I actually sell a heap of grind to people who are doing sports and athletics, and they've got that betaine there to push that power output.
Yeah, well I recommend this to cyclists.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a good angle.
Yeah, for that reason. For that power, you got from the creatine and the betaine.
Perfect.
So the power output.
Oh, look, and that's that combo. This really, and even circling to your first question, why should someone use it? Because the caffeine is just one facet of what makes pre-workouts actually beneficial to us. 90% of the good stuff is the stuff on the panel outside of the one ingredient caffeine, So things like your betaine, beta-alanine, creatine, these are real workhorses. These are things that drive performance. They help with energy production, they help with power output, they help with producing energy more efficiently as well, so you can recover faster between sets, buffering lactic acids that burn in the muscle when we're training hard. All these things are massively beneficial to training and being able to drive output during training. And none of it ever mentioned the idea, the word caffeine in any of that. So I guess if someone's going, why would I use a non-stim? Well, it's because all the good stuff's in here. And by all means, they're not just something you have to take just by itself. They're stackable. I made them to be used together. So you can still run your favourite stim pre, but if you want to have more pump, more endurance, more power output, stack them together, throw it in with it. Yeah, but by all means, a lot of people go, oh, why bother? What's the point? The point is that we've got things in here that'll increase focus, memory, mood, things that'll drive, muscle power output, all these great stuff that you'd get from a pre-workout anyway, just minus the caffeine. That's literally the only difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're very, very beneficial supplements.
I've noticed there's beta-alanine in there.
There is.
And there's a decent amount of beta-alanine. So we're looking at 3,200 milligrams, which is a good clinical dose. I've had a number of people that who've first used the pre. I've had a classic. I had one guy not too long ago. He bought a pre-workout, had Alanine. He came back the next day and said, "I think I'm allergic to this. As soon as I took this, I get this incredible tingling and itchiness. I have to explain to him quickly." Benefits of beta-alanine and what causes that tingling?
Yeah, for sure. It's an effect called paresthesia, and it's a bit of a central nervous system stimulant and a bit of a central nervous system irritant as well. And beta-alanine boosts muscle carnosine, and what that does, basically in layman's terms, it works to help buffer acid in a cell. So as we're training hard, as we're doing rep after rep, we're building up all these sort of byproducts of all these waste products from exercise, from our muscles burning fuel. And one of those is your lactates, your lactic acid, and that's what creates that burning sensation in the muscle. And doing high rep stuff is that lactic acid building up and building up and building up. So, and that's a big wall to a lot of people in training. But not being able to push past that pain barrier is a big thing. And what I find that beta-alanine is great for, it helps to buffer that acid. So it helps to stop that onset of that burn, so you can push harder, you can go longer. So they found when they used it in studies with rats and so on, they found they could push. They were had been swimming into fatigue type tests and so on, and they'd swim like 20 or 30% further. And really, really impressive sort of increases in stamina and endurance because they didn't have that that real burning sort of feeling. So it's really, really good for buffering lactic acid. So. But it does have that noticeable tingling feeling. But that's also a benefit I find if anyone at home's using your high stim pre's now and you really like that big tingle, they really like getting the big hit of caffeine or the tingles going on. This is a non-stim that you'll actually feel because you'll have the beta-alanine in there.
I was just going to say that. And that's what I like about I actually like beta-alanine. It's like I'll take a pre-workout or even if I use this and 15, 20 minutes later you start sitting there and you think, okay, now it's time to train.
It reminds you that you took it too.
Yeah, you sort of took it, it's in the system, you're starting to get those itchies and right, let's go train.
It's like a rite of passage of pre-workouts, isn't it? It really is. But I found that I think it really gives because I hear the one big thing I hear from customers is always, oh look, I've used a non-stim pre in the past, but I didn't feel anything, so I just switched back to a caffeine, sort of a caffeinated pre-workout, and I think it didn't give people a chance to really do the justice they deserve. So, like if anything, I tried to make this to have the benefits of buffering that lactic acid, but also give them that felt effect as well. So if they're having this pre, even though there's no stimulants, they're getting the tingles, they're feeling it. It's almost a similar effect they'll feel when they're having a stimulant pre, and it's almost like this placebo increase in energy. It really does, get you in the zone, and I guess I stacked that with some nootropics as well because I wanted to also. I figure most of the things people enjoy about like when I'm having a high stim pre, things I like are that real tunnel vision, like just dialed in, just almost euphoric mood. You're really there, you're in the zone, you're pumped up. Then the beta kicks and you get those tingles going on. Like that's 90% of the fun of a pre-workout, right?
That's right.
And so I thought, well, how can I capture that experience, give it to someone, and take it without having to have stimulants? And between the nootropics, so I got like tyrosine in there at 1,000 milligrams.
That was my next question. So tell us a little bit about the other ingredients in there. So we've got the lactic acid buffer, we've got the power generators.
Yes.
And then we've got nootropics.
We do, and that was that big part of the missing puzzle for a lot of them, I think. Like, it's all well and good to boost pumps. Like, muscle pumps, they're great. They're great fun. Yeah. They're very important for muscle growth, very important for recovery. But that's not all that it should be. Like, a lot of non-stim pre's just get looked at as pump formula, just things to help boost blood flow. And I think it doesn't quite do that category justice. So, like, I guess the nootropics are in there because I wanted that other part I was describing with a caffeinated pre, the euphoric mood, the focus, dialed in, that real just amazing state you get into when you have a big heavy pre. And I wanted that to be a part of the product, but just still without the caffeine. So 1,000 milligrams of tyrosine, huge dose of tyrosine. Now tyrosine boosts dopamine. It's a precursor to dopamine production.
Tyrosine is an amino acid.
It is indeed, and so it's a really great one when you throw it in. It's quite a noticeable acute boost in dopamine when people use it. So the first thing you'll notice when you're running that is typically a big boost in mood. Is a great one. You've got that. Dopamine's your reward, neurotransmitter. So you get at times when it's like the real sort of vibe. So that's in there. The alpha GPC then comes next, and that boosts acetylcholine, which is more your focus, attention to detail. When anytime your brain needs to really focus on and concentrate, acetylcholine's what it depends on. So we've got things in there to boost that mood, boost that dopamine. We have the acetylcholine agonist there, so we can also get that, not just be in a great mood and be euphoric, but also be really present, really like raise the focus, real tunnel vision sort of focus. So you're really in the workout, you're really focusing on every rep. And then we're throwing in all the things to support the performance with there. So the massive vasodilators, you've got Vaso 6, you've got citrulline malate, potassium nitrate was a bit of a throwback. It's where you bind straight nitrate to an electrolyte, and the electrolyte goes in. Obviously, awesome absorption on electrolytes. And as soon as that nitrate that's bound to that electrolyte hits blood, oxygenates, and you get nitric oxide like that. Yeah. So you can sort of hit it with a 3-part pump. You get that nearly instantaneous pump with the potassium nitrate. So it goes in, oxygenates straight away, boom, rapid pump. Citrulline's more of like a 40-minute sort of slower burner, but it lasts longer. And then Vaso 6 comes in and just gives it all a big kick. So you've sort of got this pump that just lasts for ages, but also comes on really fast. The mood, the focus is all there, tingles from the beta. Like this is a pre you'll feel. You'll really know you've had it, despite no stimulants. It's really
I guarantee
enjoyable.
it. I love it. Like I tend to cycle my pre-workouts. Like I'll go off for a little while.
Yep.
And then I'll always go into the grind in between because I'm still getting the same feeling.
Yeah.
But I'm giving my adrenals a rest.
which I think they could all use. Plenty of us, we've all been a bit indulgent with caffeine from time to time. Right. It's nice to wind it back. But look, I really I find a really good halfway with people who are trying to wind back caffeine. If you're struggling to eliminate it altogether, if you're someone who listening who is currently using a high stim pre or high stim thermogenics,
never eliminate caffeine. Never.
and look, and what it's a life aid, right? Like I live on it too. So what I do is I stack it, and I made everything in the range the same flavors for that reason. Like these are like pineapple and strawberry kiwi. I have in my metabolize as well, my thermogenic. Right. I've also had it in my warfare ripped, which was my fat burner and pre-workout 2-in-1. I made it so that you can stack it with your stim pre still. So have all of your amazing performance ingredients. That's the real workhorse for people. But also, by all means, if you're trying to go from 450 megs of caffeine down to 0, you're going to have a bad time. But if you go down to 150, maybe 200 milligrams with it, work down to 100, slowly bring it down, then that's a much better long-term solution, Like 150 to 200 milligrams of caffeine for me pre-workout, about the spot-on place. That's me getting in the gym, having a go, but not being scattered and overstimulated later. So, I'll throw in, sort of 150 odd milligrams caffeine worth with grind. I usually use Metabolize as my stacker, and away you go. So, it's very versatile. It doesn't have to be, just only for people who are off stims at the moment. If you're on stims right now, stack it with it. If you want to be on less stims, use less stims and more grind.
Yeah. Obviously, then being a non-stim, who should use one? Well, one we talked about if you want to cut back on your caffeine, but obviously night shift workers would get a benefit, and people who are overly sensitive to caffeine. Now, with these other nootropics and everything, then they're not going to affect you. Like if you are a night shift worker and you sort of, a lot of night shift workers, they work all night, then they go train and then they go home to sleep.
Yep, bingo.
So they want something like this, non-stim, they can feel it still, get that power. But it's not going to affect them still then when they go to bed?
No, that's the beautiful thing with precursors to hormones. So like tyrosine, for example, as an nootropic, it works in times of stress. So when you're putting your body into, when you're going in for a hard workout, or you're about to go into the gym and so on, your body uses it at that time when it needs it. But if you could have grind and go to bed, but if you use grind and go start training and exercising, your brain knows, hey, I'm going to call on this extra tyrosine to convert to dopamine, as opposed to, tyrosine's an amino acid in all of our food. In a high protein diet, you get heaps of tyrosine. You're not walking around constantly boosted dopamine, right? But using it in a very special circumstance, in a time of stress when we're under training hard, our body uses it preferentially and makes dopamine out of it. But by all means, you could have this, just bail on the session and go to bed. It'll completely work fine. And I think the other category of people who are using it, there are shift workers. Anyone training in the afternoons at all, any time after about 4 p.m.
That's right.
Really you should be cutting. Caffeine has a half-life of like 4 to 5 hours. So like its full elimination time is 8 to 10 hours. So
right.
it's lesser known, and it's why and I find when we do you know, when I do talks on the effects of caffeine and stimulants on cortisol and on our body's central nervous system, the effects on your CNS, on your nervous system of being stimulated, lasts well after the actual like felt effects of caffeine. So you could have had a coffee at 1 p.m. It's only finally left your system at 11 p.m. that night. Yeah. So when you know, I guess anyone in training at any time after midday, really, anyone in the afternoon at all, really should be opting to have, you know, minimal caffeine and really lean on products like this. Yeah. You know, like it's a lesser known fact that caffeine sticks around for so long, you know, in the body. So so definitely, not just shift workers, afternoon workers, people who are trying to wind back their caffeine, and then people who are currently using a stim-based pre, who want to have more pump, more endurance, more, you know, creatine supplement, you know, has full 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. People are just using creatine currently, get sick of adding it to their pre. That's all in one sort of format. You've got 5 grams creatine and all the other stuff. Yeah. So, yeah.
Excellent. That's Grind. Available now. Australian Muscle comes in 2 flavours. Got pineapple, strawberry kiwi, $69.95. Available now online and in store. Free Australia-wide delivery. Thanks, Will.
Pleasure, Kim.